Good afternoon, and welcome to the latest edition of Shooting Straight with me, Voice of the Forge. Now, I have been quite silent over the last few months because I have had a lot of coursework to do with regards to gaining entry into university. I'm doing an access course in English and history. So far it's going well, but my free time has been consistently eaten up both by the fact that my mental capabilities aren't what they used to be with regards to anxiety, panic attacks and depression, and then dealing with work as and when it is due by the deadlines. This has meant, unfortunately, that a lot of my video time went by the wayside, and I did say that normal service would be resumed as soon as possible. Now, it has taken something special to actually get my attention to the point where I am prepared to now nail my colours to the mast. And it is today with the actual clearance of someone at a Crown Court level, the name of Mr. Pearson, who was accused of inserting his fingers into a 61-year-old woman who was apparently famous for 2 or 3 seconds as he brushed past her. Now, he was taken to court and tried as a sex offender. And it took something like 90 minutes for the jury to look at the CCTV evidence and go, you what? Now, there is a major problem in this country. I am, of course, talking about the UK, where the Director of Public Prosecutions is out for scalps. She is trying to shore up a reputation with a document called The Ending of Violence Against Women and Girls, and she is desperate by any measures possible to change the law so that people who are innocent of any kind of sex crime get targeted by these batty women and taken to court under false pretenses and subjected to a montage of absolute horror, because these women decide that all men are sex pests. Is it any wonder that we have a growing reluctance of men to engage with women? Why is it that men would rather stay at home with their mates, eat pizza, drink beer and play video games than have a proper adult grown-up relationship with all that entails? Well, it's quite simple. The grown-up relationship is the one to stay the fuck away from women. And if you think that I'm being harsh, oh hell no. Being part of a community where consent is everything, which means that all of the communication and everything else is done before jumping into bed, then looking at other relationships where casual hookup culture and everything else is the way that it is, I shudder to think at the way in which it will turn out for people. This is becoming a sexist war against men. If we turned round and said that one sector of society was likely to do any kind of particular crime at a moment's notice, then there would be outrage if it was down to creed, if it was down to race, if it was down to orientation. But when it comes to men, then we are demonised. And I, for one, am sick and fed up to the back teeth with it. Why is it that someone can look at me and go, rapist, without even come within 5 feet of me and got to know anything about me? What is it that entitles you to such freedom to be able to slander me and drag my name through the mud with absolutely no repercussions? And this reminds me of something else. More recently, McCarthyism, where people were blacklisted in all kinds of industries because of the threat, real or imagined, that you were a communist, that you were some pinko bastard out to destroy the American way of life. That was one recent historical example, but if we want to go further back, then I have another lovely word for you. It's called witchcraft. And what did we do to witches? That's right, we went on hunts. We went to find them. We went to find them and then we destroyed them. We put them on ducking stools. That's right, ducking stools. Whereby, if you were put on a ducking stool and dunked into the nearest pond, if you lived, you were a witch, and if you drowned, then you were innocent. There was a word coined for this in the 20th century. It's called Kafkaism, based on a famous book called Catch-22, where it didn't matter what you did, you were screwed either way. And that is what is happening with men and women and modern relationships in the 21st century in America and now increasingly in the UK. Once again, we have taken the worst of American society and within 10 to 15 years we have imported it. Woohoo! Congratulations, women, you now officially are sexist. Why? Because you look at a man and you think criminal. You look at a man and you feel fear. There is a word for that. Excuse me. There is a word for that. It's called paranoia. It is something which can be a mental illness. So, are women mental? No, I believe they are misguided. I believe they have been led astray by harpies that are intent on destroying men because they hate them. I don't know whether or not it's because Daddy didn't love them enough, or maybe he loved them too much. But there is a cadre of women out there that seem to think that it is their mission to rid the world of the scourge that is men. That they think that they can do whatever they like, that they can say whatever they like, because only one class of society can be oppressed. That in itself is a racist and sexist view, that only men can be sexist, that only whites can be racist. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Haven't we got ourselves into a pickle? Reverse racism is not a thing, it is racism. Reverse sexism isn't a thing, it is sexism. And I really hope this stirs up some debate and gets people talking, because at the end of the day, this needs to be addressed. I am not a MGTOW. I am not a man going my own way. I just refuse to play the stupid fucking games that modern women want to play. Okay, so I'm alone. And? Oh look, all my money is my own. I've never had kids. I don't have to support anybody. And that includes you, woman, who wanted to get pregnant and then live off the state because you had a child. Why is it that we talk about single mothers in the UK and yet we're never allowed to state the obvious, that there are some, and I do say they are a small percentage, but I know, I went to school with some of them. Their whole career plan was to get pregnant and then not work because ovaries, and they had kids. Whoopee. Aren't you intelligent? Because all it takes is for one person to turn around and go, you know what, I ain't supporting you anymore, and then we have a collapse on our hands. Is it any wonder we see some people going back to more traditional sort of religions and roles for women? I wonder why. Because men are being emasculated. That is right, we are having the laws changed and from underneath our very noses. From where consent is no longer consent, has to be affirmative consent. Where, oh, can I do this? Yes. Can I do that? Yes. Can I do the other? Yes. Otherwise, it's rape. How many women want to live like this? Tell me. Speak up. Show your own videos. I'm sure there are plenty more people out there that want to get in on this. What is it about the mindset that we have of today, where my rights trump yours, that I can say whatever I like and there are no repercussions for it? Oh, that's right, ovaries. What is it about the fact that you are different structurally to men that somehow makes you think that you are superior? That somehow means that you aren't capable of gross acts of violence? Why is it that domestic violence, intimate partner violence, is never discussed when men are the victim, where we now have countless videos in society which shows that female against male violence is a laughing matter, whereas if it was the other way round, oh no, that's taboo, that's shocking, that's sick. Yesterday we were talking about A Streetcar Named Desire in my English class. And what about that? Well, we have Stanley, who is quite abusive to his wife and rapes his wife's sister. And yet he is held up as being some kind of macho jock who is the embodiment of all that is male, the seeking and pleasuring of himself and his women partners. And yet this is a great American play, and this is one of the people that are standout American characters in American fiction. And we got on to talking about intimate partner violence, and we were talking about the fact that men quite often are not talked about in the statistics. It is something that is ignored. It is something that is swept under the carpet. And when it is talked about, it is something of a joke. People do not want to engage in any meaningful way. They look at it as being something funny, if they accept it at all. And we got to talking about a case in Scotland where a man was murdered by his wife because he brought home the wrong McDonald's meal. And without stopping to think, there was a general chuckle, there was a general air of amusement, because yes, it is funny to kill someone over something so damn trivial. And yet I pointed out, we are okay to laugh at the fact that it is over a McDonald's meal. But then I switched it round and said, it doesn't matter about the meal. It doesn't matter about the fact that we can find part of this humorous. If it was a woman who had been killed by a man for exactly the same reason, for getting a McDonald's meal wrong, we are shocked and horrified at what a monster he was, that he could murder someone over something so trivial. And at once it made people stop and think about the dichotomy that we have as it stands. Yes, anyone who is killed by intimate partner violence is someone too many. I completely agree with the sentiment. Yet, we argue about this as though it is in isolation. I think the tally for this year stands at 283. I could be wrong. Somewhere out there I have heard a figure mentioned, it could just be from one of my tutors, that the figure of intimate partner violence is something like 283 for the year of 2016 in the UK. It might only be England and Wales. It's a figure that I am not standing on as being gospel. It is a figure that has been noised about, has been bruited about as being somewhere in the ballpark figure of what has happened. And that is, in all honesty, 283 people too many. But how many people have been knocked over and killed on our roads? How many people have been killed through suicide? How many people have killed themselves? How many people have died in ways which were otherwise preventable? And when we start looking at these other statistics, then I believe we start to put this in perspective, because at the end of the day, that is what has been lost. We have lost all perspective. Intimate partner violence is this, it's that, it's the other. Okay. So what? The fact that you probably have that many people killed a month on the road in the UK? No one talks of that statistic. How many of them have been killed by unlicensed, unregulated, uninsured criminals? Because that, at the end of the day, is what the person killing his or her spouse is. A criminal. A murder is a murder, whether it's a stranger or a very close relative or someone that you're married to. It is against the law in all counts. The fact that we draw such a distinction between stranger murder and spousal murder is something of a red herring. And lo and behold, where has this been brought up from? It isn't from the woman who founded the first ever shelter that looked at intimate partner violence and went, it happens where women hit men and men hit women and it goes too far and we need to have a refuge where we can learn how to communicate, where we can diffuse everybody. No, it was taken over by a radical feminist movement who wanted to save women at all costs and demonise men. This is on the record. The founder herself has gone on the record and said that this is the case and is now a billion-dollar industry, billion-pound industry, whereby you have women with an agenda who have decided that they are telling the whole truth and anybody else who gainsays them is committing an act of heresy. That is what we are forming in modern feminism. I say modern feminism because feminism has done things which are quite laudable. They have brought equality into the workplace. But there are things which are still believed, despite all evidence to the contrary, about certain behaviours, about certain facts, which are wholly disprovable. And when we start talking about evidence, about where these figures come from, and the fact that they have been debunked over and over again, and yet people still rely on them, they still teach them, they still preach them, then what you are approaching is called an article of faith, where it doesn't matter what the evidence says, it's what you believe. And lo and behold, what have we got in its wake? Listen and believe. A woman says that she has been attacked in Duke Lacrosse, in the University of Virginia. Oh look, we listened and believed all right, and what a load of shit those cases turned out to be. Oh no, we have a woman who is not a credible source, therefore we must be attacking all women as being liars, and therefore we can't trust what they say. We can't trust what people say because of the parable, the story of the boy who cried wolf. Well, what we have here are women crying rape. If they cry rape and it isn't, we are less likely to believe the next person who cries rape. And then we don't believe the third person who comes along who cries rape, or the fourth, or the fifth, or the sixth. And that is damaging to rape victims. That trivializes them. These women who lie should be made an example of, not because it deters women from telling people when they've been raped, but because if we then turn round and actually discipline those who tell lies, then those who tell lies decrease, and those who tell the truth will increase, because there will be more support for them, because people will be more readily willing to believe them, because who would lie if they're going to face the same kinds of jail terms as those who commit the act? The reason women lie at the moment is because there is no penalty. Get rid of the penalty, there is no reason to tell the truth. And then we then disbelieve those who are telling the truth. It is women who are victimizing other women, not men. Men are equally the victims here as well, because they are the ones that get called out as being rapists or sex attackers when they're not. All you have to do is look at today's papers, and today, by the way, is the 9th of February 2016, an information age, and yet we are swamped with these articles of faith in which common sense and statistics are disbelieved in favour of gerrymandered and cherry-picked social theories, which really speaking aren't even theories, they are hypotheses which fail at every turn. So I'm not going to call them a social science, I'm going to call them what they are, a social guess, a social hypothesis, something which hasn't even made it to the theory stage. It isn't worthy of being called a social theory if when you test it, it immediately fails. Oh no, it doesn't buy into our narrative. Well, I'm sorry, you don't have a science, you have a religion, you have a faith. And I'm sorry, but I do not have to belong to your faith. Just as I am not a Christian, just as I am not a Jew, just as I am not a Muslim. I have freedom of faith, and I have freedom from faith. And that is as a white male, who is British, and who stands his ground. Please, disprove me. Make your own videos, and come at me with facts and figures, because I do not believe you. I will not listen and believe. I will trust, and I will verify, but I will not... Excuse me. If you're wondering why I'm not editing this out, it is because part of the shtick of shooting straight is that this is done in one take with no edits. Hence I say I am shooting from the lip, and I dare anybody else to do the same without a lot of ums and ahs, dead space and spitting in the microphone, as I see from a lot of commentators. It's happened on one of my videos, and I did apologise profusely for that, and it is something that I seek to disprove every time I make a video. It's been a long time since I've made one, so please forgive the coughing. We're now well over our 20 minutes, so thank you very much for listening. I hope what you find is informative, and if you find facts and figures which disprove mine, I am more than willing to listen and look at what you've found. Evidence is evidence. Facts can be objective. If you look at one thing and I look at one thing and they are the same, then they are objective. If you look at one thing and I do exactly the same thing and find something else, then it's not right somewhere. Which is why we have which is why we have peer review and we have the scientific method. So, now that we have got to the end of that, I have, as always, been Voice of the Forge. I thank you very much for listening, and hopefully there will be many more videos to come, and I wish all of you the best, and hope to hear your comments or your response videos, because there's only one thing that makes the world stronger, and that is dialogue. The more we talk, the less hatred there can be out there. Thank you for listening, and I'm now signing off. Goodbye.